Hello, friends. Welcome back. I am super excited today. I have a new guest on the show for you, and I can't wait to introduce you to this woman who is just absolutely incredible. Talk about doing your beautiful work and sharing it really vulnerably. So, if you don't follow Bri McCorkell, you must follow Bri McCorkell if you're on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. She is a delight, and her voice is so powerful. I met Bri many years ago now through my daughter, Cassandra Niece, who owns the Dharma Collective and does branding and website work for amazing women entrepreneurs and healers and many other people that are really truly following their dharma. And this woman is one of those people. She is truly listened to her calling and done the beautiful work that it takes to follow that calling. And not always is the beautiful work easy. I think we might get into that a little bit today. Anyway, I'll read right from her website because I just love this one statement. I've found my true path. I'm on a mission to help other women find theirs, to step into their power, live deliciously, and make zero apologies. Please welcome with me, Bri McCorkell. Welcome, Bri. Bri is here to talk with me today, and our topic is, I'm calling it the too much woman or the too much sensitive. Because you know what I found, Bri? I don't know for you in your client base or the people that you work with and the people that you're in touch with, but more and more people, other than just self-identified women, are starting to come forth and really struggle with being sensitive, emotional, feeling like they're too much. Are you finding that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. I think it's actually a beautiful thing that myself included, I feel like this feeling of our sensitivities and our too muchness is actually our true innate essence, our true gifts of being empathic, of being tuned in, of being sensitives. It's really like our true gifts kind of coming in and coming through. And I think for the first time, some of us are realizing, like, wait a minute, this may be, for me personally, I don't know about you, Laurel, but like when I was little, I was an only child. I was a sensitive. I was an empath. I had all these special things going on, as my kitty Gracie wants to share.
Hey,
For
Kitty. Hey,
those of you
Kitty.
watching the video, hello, Gracie just made an appearance.
Hi. Oh, Gracie.
She's a sensitive too. Yes, she wanted to be
Mm.
included. But I was brought up like being told you're too much and something's wrong with you, and why do you have these feelings, and why can't you be this way, and why are you like this, and this isn't a big deal. You're so emotional. It was seen as this, like how I was broken, and
Yeah.
something was wrong with me, and I wasn't normal, and why couldn't I just be like everyone else? Why couldn't I just be easy?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so I see this time, of this information coming to light as such a powerful opportunity, as such a powerful invitation for us to be like, yeah, I am, you know what? I am sensitive, and that's my superpower, right? Like,
Yes.
this is a
Yes.
superpower that I don't know
Yeah.
if you know what the percentage of the world of empaths is, what that,
I don't know. I haven't read that. I don't have any stats on that, but I so relate to that, Brie, because I know from the time that I was little, I knew that I was really sensitive because I was tuning into everything that was going on in our household energetically and emotionally. And it was a lot to carry. And it was really, really difficult. And at times I was told I was too sensitive and I was too emotional. And it was truly in my 30s when I started going to therapy and was working with therapists that I realized, oh my God, that is a superpower. Like all of a
mhm,
sudden it turned around and thankfully
mhm,
very early for me so that I could really get in and dig in and use it that way. Right. So
mhm, mhm.
um, that's why doing this work is so important, especially for those of us that are sensitive and those of us that really self-identify as being an emotional person, because oftentimes there's a lot of healing work that needs to be done. I know Bree. So for those of you, I didn't really talk about Bree's background, as in the introduction, but Bree is a Reiki master now.
Mm-hmm.
She's
Mm-hmm.
teaching Reiki classes. She is an intuitive healer, so she does sessions via video as well as in person and over the phone. So you can work with her through that medium and get beautiful energy work done. And when I was doing my healing work, that was some of the most powerful work for me. And I know that Laurel, my co-host on the show, who's with me most of the time, is a Reiki master as well. And she's talked about how that's been one of her times, those kinds of energy sessions have been the times when she's made the biggest leaps and the biggest shifts.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we're all really big proponents of energy work and finding a good healer to help you sort through how you might have been carrying a lot of, I think of it as like small to sometimes mid-range emotional trauma that, man, you just adds up and adds up and adds up. When you've been a sensitive and you've been emotionally attuned and people are shutting you down all the time, you're carrying a lot of extra emotional baggage that with good energy work can be released, huh?
Absolutely. And it's really such a beautiful and also gentle way
Yeah.
to release the energy and to do the
Yeah.
healing. And, it feels like it was another life. It was probably about 10 years ago. I'm actually a trained psychologist and counselor as well. And when I was in graduate school, 15 years ago or whatever, it was still like that very psychodynamic, like get to the root, Freudian, like figure out, you need to know. Even some talk therapy now is like, okay, we need to figure out like where this came from and what happened and, get to the cause or the incident, the episode. And oftentimes with trauma, that can actually be more damaging, right?
It
If
can
not
rewound.
done.
It can rewound.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so,
Yeah.
and now with different modalities, like some of the healing work that you're talking about, not just Reiki, but I'm trained in other different types of frequencies and healing energies. We don't need to know.
Yeah.
If you want to, sure, if you want to go back to the root cause, but we don't need to know anymore. We don't need to relive or go back to those specific incidents or find the root cause in order to heal it. And it's like the energy healing, like even yesterday, I was telling you, I had a Reiki 1 training with 6 incredible souls. And that's what when they received the attunement, when they received the energy that was down from the divine into their crown, into their body, it's like a lot of them are moved to tears because just like you're talking about, it's all of this stuff that's not ours. That's not who we truly are, that we've been carrying, whether it's in our field and our chakras and our physical body and our tissues, whether it's trauma or just other people's stuff. It's like there's this huge release.
Yeah.
And someone described it as almost like a white linen laundry sheet, like that, if you hang it out to dry, like in the sun, like that kind of energy, just like billowing through your body, billowing through your field and just releasing whatever is not yours. But the beauty of it is it's in divine right order.
Yeah.
So it's whatever that the divine, like it's not forcing, it's not taking you somewhere that you're not ready to go. It's literally releasing whatever you are ready to release, whatever you are ready to heal. And it's not easy, but it's like the gentlest and gets into that where it actually is being held in the body or in the field so that you can fully let it go without having to re-experience, or kind of like what you could take years in therapy, not knocking it. I see a therapist, my husband and I see a marriage therapist, like huge proponent.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the
It has its
energy
place.
work
Absolutely.
is,
Yeah.
the energy work is just, it's truly, I mean, that's why I offer the work that I do now, a combination of, the counseling, but also the energy work and also the intuitive and the channeling. Because sometimes it's stuff that's not even from this life. It's stuff that comes down through our DNA and our blood. Other times it's karmic. Other times it's past life, so we can go into the records. And it's such a beautiful thing to be able to give people clarity of like, this isn't even yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
This isn't even
Absolutely.
yours. Or us empaths, like you're actually, most of us that are sensitive, a lot of the times we're processing stuff. It's the collectives. It's not even ours.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And we can't underestimate, and understate today while we're here to our listeners that in the past year and a half, during this time when we started experience COVID and so many other things have been going on in our culture and in the collective and in the global consciousness, that as empaths, we have been responding hugely to that and not even necessarily aware that that's been a part of what we've been doing. And so the more that we can do this combination of energy work and talk work and bibliotherapy and all the beautiful work that's available out here, the more that we can do it and raise our consciousness, the more that we can attune ourselves to be able to recognize how we carry it, when we're carrying it, when we're responding to it, so that we know how to do it from a place of strength and power versus feeling burdened by it. And I think that that's really, that's the line that we cross over as we do the healing work, right? We get to a point where we start to feel stronger and stronger. And then we realize we are this superpower. We are this powerful person that is attuned to all of this energy that's going on, and that we can respond to it from a place of strength and wisdom. But before that, usually we feel, weakened and overwhelmed and exhausted and confused and all these things. And so if you're out there and you're listening to us and you're feeling those feelings, know that there is a path outward, and know that there is a path to finding, that place inside of you that really can deal with all of these things that may feel like you can't deal with them right now. There's always a path to that, right, Bri? I mean, I don't know anyone, right, that hasn't just gone through this kind of work and transformed so beautifully.
No, so much truth and goodness to what you just said. Something that so what I find in myself and my clients, most of us, is that once we've been on this path, kind of awakening and rising in consciousness and doing some healing work, it's almost like once you burn through your own karma and you heal a lot of your stuff, you start to take on things for the collective. That's just what I've been shown by my guides and my own path and the women that come to see me who are empaths and sensitives. It's like we start to actually be really tuned in and able to not only clear our own stuff, but we start to clear it and heal it for the collective. We have the opportunity, we have the invitation to do that. So a question that I ask myself every day, or my clients when they're kind of in it, or when they're being triggered, or when they feel like they're not grounded and they're offline, kind of experiencing, getting caught up in what's going on in their world, is to get still and quiet for a moment and ask, how much of this is mine? How much of this is actually mine?
Yeah.
And oftentimes when we take the time to ask that question and tune in, it's usually less than 25%. Sometimes with people it's 2% or 1%.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, just that pausing and just that tuning in, just that realization that like, this isn't even my stuff. And, now I can realize it, because so much of the suffering that we go through is thinking like, what's wrong with me? Why am I feeling this way? Why is this happening? Like, we get caught and there's this like shame, guilt stuff that we pour on top, and we think that we're broken. But yet this question allows us to see like, whoa, this isn't even all mine, and I'm experiencing this because I'm so sensitive, AKA empathic and gifted. I think like the percentage is like less than 30% of the world is empathic and sensitive and has these gifts. And it truly is a superpower. But for so long, we've been really shown that it's not, we're broken, we're too much, like we're talking about. And it's like, no, this is actually like the most sacred gift in the world. It's the reason why you and I get to do the work that we do, is because we're honoring, we're seeing our sensitivities and our empathics, as this incredible gift to the world. But at the same time, we do require certain support, someone who understands us, how to take care of our body, our energy, our physical body, our spiritual body, our emotional body, our etheric body, and so that we can be here on this earth, in this earth school, in this human form, which is really the last couple of years putting us to the test. I'm sure there's some of us stars who are like, peace. I'm like, I'm good, all set. Like, I'll go back now, right?
I know, I
Um,
know. Yeah,
but
yeah,
that is one of the greatest gifts of the work, is that in finding someone who's also an empath and understands these things, is how to call back your power and how to care for yourself every day, you
every day.
know,
Yeah.
so that you can be in your gifts and be in this world. There was a point in time for myself and other clients where, I felt like, you know what, I can't be this sensitive. It hurts too much. I'm in so much pain, whether it's like seeing what's going on with our climate, or, our animal friends, or, poverty,
Mm,
or, just
I am endless
racism. I mean, just
topics.
so
Yeah,
much stuff, it's like,
yeah.
you know what, I can't do this. I can't feel. It hurts too much to feel. And so, as you know, my own personal story, I drank. I
Mm,
drank to numb out and try to leave my body. Um, that was my way. I didn't know it at the time, but that was my escape,
yeah.
my, exit button.
Yeah.
Um,
Bri, I want to just say, so for those, anyone's listening to Bri, and she's going to share a little bit more about her story in just a second, but I just want to pause because there are so many escapisms in the Western culture right now, and drinking is, one of the many. Shopping, athletics now can be, all of the screen activity that we have. There are so many ways that we use to literally not be in touch with the physical and emotional aspects of the pain that we may be experiencing. And that is not the route to tuning in and getting powerful and being able to bring your gifts to the world, right? I mean, Bri, I do want you to share a little bit more about your story, because your path here to this place is one of saying no thank you to that, so that you could claim all that you have and all that you're doing now, right?
yes, amen to that. Um,
Yeah.
my, I have the blessing, I see it as a blessing now, of having, I don't know what the word is, alchemized or transformed. My learning path up until now, I'll be 40 this year, has been learning through experience and almost learning through dark nights of the soul.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so that's something that I can offer. I've been through it. I'm not this, nor do I think any of us should be, in this place of superiority, or this, yes, I'm a spiritual teacher and a healer, but it's not, I'm not like, I've gone through it all. I've learned through experience and having to transcend and transmute and turn it into gold, right?
Okay. And do
Um,
it again and again and again.
yeah, it's kind of like the phoenix
Yeah.
rising, like from the
That's
ashes,
right. That's right.
many a time. And I
Many a
find that
time.
that's who I also work with, are
Yeah.
these women and these mothers who are truly real, and yes, have all of these incredible gifts and sensitivities, and are just waiting, are just like connected to the earth, and are just here to do things differently. We just have to remember, and we just have to
Yeah.
let go of what you're talking about, these things that we drown ourselves out. So, and numb. And like you said, it takes many forms.
Mhm.
And so, yes, that has been my path: mental illness, drinking, numbing out, leaving my body, self sabotage, anxiety, just victim martyr.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I remember when I
I've
first
been
started
there.
working with a
Yeah.
shaman, with, at the beginning of all of this, and I have three small children as well. So that, um, part of the greatest awakening I've gone through is being a mother. Not only the carrying and the birth of my children, but they are my great teachers, and they are all empaths, highly
Yeah.
sensitive little star seeds, who are
Yeah.
so powerful, and have brought up all of my shadow and triggers, like, here.
Yep.
Motherhood has been the
Yep.
greatest catalyst for my awakening and healing. But
Yep.
yeah, so 3 years, 3+ years sober now.
Hmm.
Um, and this is, like, coming in from my family. It's coming in from my DNA, my blood, my environment, old karmic patterns, past lives. I kind of had the full uh, kit and caboodle. Uh,
Yeah,
but we
yeah,
all, you find that you chose this
yeah,
life and
that's
for
right.
a reason, and you chose your family and you've been traveling with them for quite a while. Um, and that you have the strength, and the free will, to transmute it all. And I had a very clear, I knew I was on a troubled path for quite a while, denying myself, self-sabotage, really. I mean, the alcohol thing, I knew it was a horse. I was a horse of a different color for quite some time. And it really took me, like you said, a few kind of low points. Um, and then just one day it became really crystal clear. It was like black and white. It was like, this is a life or death
Yeah,
thing. Like,
yeah,
you will continue, like, is this going to stop with you generationally, karmically, like through the blood? Like, you can either continue for your children and for yourself the same old bullshit, like the
yeah,
same pain, the same patterns, the same addiction, the same wounds, or you can be the one that ends it all. And it was just like, when it's like I can
hmm,
feel that it's a fire, but it's a groundedness, it's a power, it's an embodiment, it's a knowing, it's so many things. And
yeah,
it was like the truest thing that I've ever felt. And it was the
yeah,
first promise that I've ever kept to myself.
mhm,
And so if you're out there and you're resonating, you feel like you're sensitive, you have these gifts, you have this deeper knowing, but you've just existed in this world that's told you that you're not enough or you're too much, or you don't feel understood, and you have these other things that you use to help yourself to feel safe or to feel like you're not, like, life isn't so hard. Like, just know it just takes one, like, it can just take one decision, one moment
mhm,
to
yeah,
say, like, no more.
yeah. I literally had that same moment, in my own version of standing, at 30 in my kitchen, looking at my children and thinking, I'm repeating my parents', story in my own version. It wasn't their
Mhm.
story. I mean, if you told it, it'd be like, that doesn't sound the same. But if you told it in a emotional, troubled trauma kind of way, it's like, oh, not so far off, right? In
Almost
that
like an
moment, I knew.
archetypal, right? Like an
Yeah,
archetypal sense.
exactly.
It was similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that was my moment of saying no, and having that same feeling. And the feeling is it's true. It's like it's grounded. There's a centeredness to it. There's a um it's a thing that it literally rings through your whole body because it is
Hmm.
your deep truth. And so
Hmm.
you feel it in every cell of your body. And it is also a very frightening moment because it is a moment when you have to say yes to something that you know is not going to be easy. And you may not know how to do or have the right support for. And I want to speak to the people that are listening, particularly if you're in a family where this is family patterns that you're talking about and you are have some sort of close relationship with your family where you see them regularly. Oftentimes we have to take a step away in order to really change our own patterns. One of the things I see most with my clients, I don't know if you find this too, but if you're working with someone, if you're out there and you're deeply entrenched in your own family story, particularly if you're trying to rescue the people in your family, you can't do it until you rescue yourself.
Hmm.
And so the first thing you have to do is step back a little bit and start working on yourself. And that's why this is so important, to do your own beautiful work. Your own beautiful work leads to your own beautiful life and then influences everyone around you. And that's really where the change comes from. The change doesn't come from a lot of the codependent patterns that we developed where we think we're going to help people and we're going to rescue them and we're going to do stuff that's going to change their life. Nobody changes their life but ourselves, right?
Hmm.
I mean, we do it for ourselves. We don't change somebody else's life. You and I are facilitators in this work, but it has to be the person who wants to come and do the work. They're the ones who do the change, make the change.
Amen. Amen. It really is. I'm trained in Ho'oponopono, which is this beautiful Hawaiian healing art, and prayer, really.
Oh,
And it consists of four
mm,
phrases: I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And the whole, and the just saying those 4 phrases, that Ho'oponopono healing prayer. People that are interested or it pings for, you can do, Google it, but it's all about like taking personal responsibility for ourselves, for our joy, for the world, for the sadness, for everything that we see, everything in our experience. It's all like it can be intimidating, right? But it's like, it's invigorating because we have the power to change and be the change that we wish to see by healing ourselves. And, my primary, my people are the mothers. So who I'm here for and who I work with. And because I see how when we heal the mother, we heal the children, we heal the family, we heal the world, and come into the matriarchy, which is just it's happening and it's so time and we're so ready for this. But it's so interesting to see, not really my clients, they even if they're scared, they have this deep courage, but there is this, sometimes this story or this thread or this pattern where up until now, it's been so much easier for them to say yes to something if it involves their children, to invest in a class for their child, to pay for all this money for family photos or for lessons or for this thing, or to say yes to going to a class if it's a child, they can bring their baby. Or it's like when we become mothers, there's this thing in society where we become here invisible and it's no longer about us. And we've been programmed to think that good mothers are kind of behind the curtain and then it's all about the baby. And this happens to us as soon as we move from being pregnant to having a baby, where it's no longer about the mother and it's all about the baby. And that is hardwired into us, even though there's so much that we mothers need postpartum on an emotional, hormonal, physical, spiritual, energetic level. It's like, you should be fine. 6-week checkup. You're good. Back to sex, back to working out, back to work. Like, here we go. And so I think that's like, it's something that's very ingrained. It's not necessarily our fault, but it is a story that we buy into. And part of my work for myself first, primarily, but also now for mothers, is showing them, like you're talking about, that like, this is like when a mother takes the time for herself, and I'm not talking about like cliche self-care, which can be great, but it's like when you just realize, when you give yourself the space to have your own dreams, and when you take the time to nourish yourself, or even if it's just knowing, like, my needs are important, I am worthy, like, I am here to be seen. I actually had this little download this morning. I was just kind of grounding before her call, and just this phrase came in, was like, for women and mothers, like, you're meant to be the star role, not the supporting cast. Like, this is your life. You're meant to be the star role of your life. And if you could just see how when you nurture yourself and you tune in and you do things that make you feel embodied and present and here and seen, everyone benefits. Your children benefit. Your partner benefits. It's like, that's the key. That's the key. And there's a lot that we can let go of, deprogram, just let dissolve away. And part of being an empath is part of that, right? Because we're so tuned into everyone's needs, and like, we feel everyone's feelings. So we want to make everyone happy. We want to help. We have these big hearts. We care so much. We want to take care of everyone. But it's like, where are you? Like, who's caring for you?
No and
one.
I think there's a lot of deprogramming with that, because whether we are consciously aware of it or not, all of the patterns that happened before us are in us. And so what we have to do is be able to see the patterns that are there and then challenge them. The ones that really don't work or don't fit into a model that we fully endorse and believe in have to be challenged, and then the reprogramming begins. And that's where a lot of this beautiful work comes in too. And the energy work can be so lovely, because we talked about using it, so much as a release when we were talking earlier, releasing trauma, releasing a lot of the emotional baggage that we carry. And it's so profoundly, profoundly healing for that. It's also very profoundly healing for beginning to adopt and install new belief systems within us, and to be in circle with women. I know you recently did a beautiful retreat experience with women.
Mhm.
I'd love to talk a little bit about that. I've been in beautiful healing circles and beautiful retreat experiences and healing women's circles. These are places where energetically, the vibration raises to a level where we can literally um, change a belief in a minute. In a moment, you can be suddenly going from it's the best thing in the world to be a people pleaser to I'm here to please myself and myself only. Literally in a second. But you have to also partake in that. You have to give yourself the space and the time to be in these places, to be in these experiences, and to begin to again, it's doing your own work to be able to open, to receive, and to be a receiver of what, this kind of energy that we're talking about. And oftentimes with the old belief system, what we're doing is energetically, we're shut down to all of that. And we're tuning into, again, the problems, the difficulties, the pain of everybody, and we get burned out
Mhm.
because we aren't receiving from other sources, from nature, from the divine, from a healing circle. And this is part of the shift of what I think what we're going through in such a great way now. More rapidly as just as you and I are speaking right now, change is afoot, right? That
Mhm.
the great feminine is on the rise.
Mhm.
We're all opening to see that many of the masculine qualities have been out of balance and done a lot of damage and a lot of harm to society. I'm not saying that men are bad. That's not what we're talking about. This male, masculine, feminine energies that have been out of balance for a really long time. And the feminine is rising now. And what we're trying to do, I think, collectively, is have them meet and become finally this yin yang symbol where it
Mhm.
can do what it's supposed to do, right? This beautiful
Mhm.
balancing work.
Mhm.
And I'm so glad that you can speak into this so powerfully, and particularly with mothers, because there's such complex issues there as moms.
Mhm.
Once the baby enters the out of the womb into the world,
Mhm.
the responsibility is so great when you
Mhm.
sit and you look. And it is easy to forget that your responsibility is really first to yourself. So
It's
easy to forget.
almost, yeah, it's almost, I feel
Yeah.
like in our society, it's becoming, thank goodness, we're remembering. We're starting to remember. We're starting to call back the village and
Mm.
realize, like, we're not meant to do this alone. We're to do motherhood alone, any aspect, especially postpartum, when we are so
Oh my
raw and
God.
new. And it's like, even just looking to other countries, like the
Mhm.
support that they have, the community, the village, where the mother is just, she sits and she's cared for during this fourth trimester, and the house is taken care of, and the other children are taken care of, and her job is to rest and to nourish and to be rubbed and like come back, and so that she can be present for her baby. I mean, if all of any of us that are mothers are listening, like, can you imagine the experience that you would have had, how different it would have been if you had that kind of support, even
Yeah.
just in your fourth trimester with any of
Yeah.
your babies, what that may
Yeah.
have meant for your relationship with your newborn, with your relationship with your partner, your other children, and most importantly, your relationship to yourself,
Yeah.
and being able
Yeah.
to have that time and space to heal. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's where I'm trying to, that's where I'm called to get us back to, is for us to tune in and to like really realize that, like, we are so worthy of feeling good and that we are here. Like, we hold so much power and so much sacred beauty, but also like the feminine is also about fierceness. It's the
Yeah.
fierce ma. It's
Yeah.
not just, we've all in this, in this society been, I think, for whatever reason, a lot of different reasons, programmed to see mother, a good mother is almost like this divine mother, the
Mhm.
Mary
Yep.
kind of archetype, this gentle, unconditional love, like,
Yeah.
almost feels like not selfless, but there's like those threads, right? Where
Yeah.
that is an archetype of the mother. but there also is the fierce ma,
Mhm.
who is like
Mhm.
protective and tigress and the Durga, and that like, yes, like I am the matriarch. I, come into my being and my throne, and like this is, setting the tone, and like reclaiming, and the wild and the free and the movement and the sensuality. Like
Yeah.
there's so much of that we're like, ooh, our
Too
society
much.
says like,
Again,
yeah,
too
like
much.
too
Too
much.
much.
Yeah.
Back to our
And when
topic. Too
really
much.
that is what, and
Yeah,
then we feel more shame.
I
Oh,
know.
why am I this mother or this woman who just like is in my little, doing things for everyone else, and like this is who I'm supposed to be. So I'm going to stuff myself into the small little cage. And the name of my retreat that I just took, a group of women on, a lot of my clients, was Reclaim Your Wild, because
Mm.
that is like when we start to peel away the stories and the programming and the trauma and the stuff, like that is who is there. It's this like beautiful wild goddess woman who's just like ready to like, put flowers in her hair and to be with nature and to move and to speak,
Yeah.
and to be, and like you were saying, for some of us, like that weekend, for those who even though have been working with me for a while or who are just new to the work and coming in that weekend, it's like having that good chunk of time. It's like your nervous system gets to reboot
Yeah.
and settle. You
Yeah.
get to come in, you get to see, you get to heal, because you're just held in this sacred container. And it's like the imprint that can happen with a longer, stretch of time and immersion of that nature. Ours was 3 days and 2 nights. It's you really like these women got to see, oh, this is possible. And oh, here I am again. I'm still here. She's still inside of me. That truth, that power, that feminine, that woman who's in flow and not like planning it all, controlling it all, doing it all, like so much
Yeah.
masculine. When we get to be in our feminine essence and we're in a sacred container where we can be her and invoke her, we remember her and we remember she's not lost. And it can be this spark of hope that's a catalyst, and so many women now have left me messages, and the feedback is like, oh my gosh, like now I know that it is within me, and I'm bringing it into a small daily practice, and it looks like this and this and this, and I'm keeping her alive, and when I don't do this, I can feel her slipping, and I know I can call her back. So it's like,
Mhm.
do we always need a retreat to be able to embody, this sacred energy and to be alive and to feel alive? No, but can it be really helpful, especially in today's society and the expectations we have as women and mothers and what's going
Yeah.
on in the world? It's like, hell yes. It
Yeah.
can be really
Yeah. Well,
helpful.
I think part of why it's so helpful, particularly still now, is because we're still in the process of breaking down structures that are other than that. And we're starting to build up these new structures that will include that, but they don't fully yet. And so we do need to walk away from it all for a
Mhm.
time and remember, there are other ways to do it. I want to speak into before I know that we're kind of running on time here, but and we're going to go long today for our listeners because we have so much to talk about. One of the things I want to speak into, Bri, and I'd love you to share a little on, is this idea of, the reclaiming your wild for women. For many women, our feminine essence, our first of all, our intuitive voice often comes forth through our speaking, and so when we're silenced and when we're trying to be invisible, we are shutting down our intuition. So that's one aspect of it. The
Mhm.
other aspect is, that I'd love you to share a little bit more on, is this idea of our creative nature. And when we're mother, our creative nature, gets again focused on the production that we just had, which is the baby, the child, and then the children that are around us. This is our creative production, so to speak.
Mhm.
Here's my
Mhm.
product.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it is literally a product, I mean, of our creative nature.
Mhm.
And yet it's just one small aspect of the fullness of our creative being. Now,
Mhm.
this is very complex equation for women that we're trying to address now. And I don't want to underestimate for women what we're trying to do right now. What we're trying to do is be mother and
Mhm.
reclaim that we also have another part and other parts to our creative experience that we want to bring forth.
Mm-hmm.
This requires huge amounts of energy.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a small task. What we're facing right now is big, big stuff. The women that are trying to do both, like you can speak into this so beautifully. Bri also is working with my daughter, so I know she knows, and my daughter would be happy to say she works with Bri because she's right there on her website saying she's doing it. Like, this is big stuff to be the breadwinner in the family, to bring children forth, to take responsibility for them in a really conscious way.
Mm-hmm.
This is big.
Mm-hmm.
This is big. And this is why we need the village.
Yes.
And this is why we need to self-care. Because without self-care, we'll all just disintegrate and fall apart. You can't do that well and not take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we need women to come forth in their creative energy outside just the children, because we are here to change the world right now. So many of us are here to create the new structures, to give voice to the new world that we're creating.
Mm-hmm.
And so first and foremost, there has to be this level of self-care so that you can sustain yourself and keep those creative juices flowing. And that's one of the beauty, I think that's one of the most beautiful aspects of having someone that you work with on a regular basis. You know, myself as a coach, I have many women that I work with that once a month, that's part of that's part of their lifestyle. You know, it's not a questionable item. It's
Mm-hmm.
just part of how you keep your energy going and how you keep your mental health good and all that stuff. And this is the essence, I think, of part of the shift we're trying to make, don't you? In terms of claiming that as part, you know, the self-care is critical, not optional.
It's no longer optional.
Yeah,
It's a requirement,
yeah,
a life nourishing requirement. And thank you for really highlighting and bringing voice to the immense intensity
yeah,
that this work can invoke. Really, it's so funny. I'm an only child. My mom and I have a close relationship. We're very different humans. But she does a very good job of loving me. And we were talking the other day, and I have three small children who are very wild and very strong, and my biggest teachers, and they're sandpaper kids, meaning like they rub you hard and hit your triggers to get you to learn and to heal. And she was like, I wonder why you were so easy. And I just feel like parenting was so much easier back then. And I wonder why it's so much harder. And like, people are struggling more. Whenever I see you write posts about the realness of motherhood, there's like, hundreds of people that comment and chime in. Like, I wonder what this experience is. And I kind of sat with it for a little while, not needing an answer, but I was just like, you know what? I feel like so many of us now are just realizing like we're at this point where these systems are just
yeah,
no longer working, and it is buckling. And we have been brought to the point where we're all saying, whether we realize it or not, where we're saying it out loud or whether we're declaring it, is like, no more.
yeah,
And so many of us are healing generational trauma, family shit. Like,
yeah,
we're
yeah.
healing this stuff that's gone on for decades,
Generations.
centuries,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
while we're also living in
yeah.
our world right now. And a lot of us are sensitives and empaths and starseeds who have come here for the purpose to help the rise in consciousness of this planet. So we're feeling it all. We care. It's like the earth is calling to us, Gaia, our babies,
Mhm.
our desires. It's like there's this rising and this rise in
Yeah.
consciousness. And, sometimes my clients and I joke, we're like, man, sometimes we wish we could go back, 1 year, 2 years, 6 years, to when we did, like, ignorance was bliss, and we didn't know.
Yeah, I know,
We
I
were
know.
like acting out unconscious patterns, and we didn't
Yeah,
know like that feeling of being grounded in our truth and with our wild, because then it doesn't make, when we're out of it, so much, it makes it harder.
yeah,
So I think there really is, I think it's all an invitation for healing.
yeah,
And honestly, so yes, acknowledging the immense strength and the commitment, and like having that centeredness and like, just like, yeah, this is my mission. This is my truth. This is my purpose, is to know me, remember me, heal me, my family, like really do my part, fulfill my blueprint, my contract, and whatever may that means. But also, and what I'm finding is that really the medicine and really the way is so simple.
Yeah.
And it brings tears because, especially for myself and the women that I work with, it's like we're being called home. Gaia, nature, Mama Earth. Like that is the medicine. Whether it's growing your own garden or, over the pandemic, starting, growing some food, or just spending more time in nature, going for a walk, putting your feet in the water, listening to the trees. It's like, making your own food more, composting, or like, I feel like so many of us are being called back to her, our original mother. And she, for those of us who are listening, it's like she has the answers. She holds the medicine for us. And if we can, it's like the more we kind of sit with her and create space and listen to her, it's like she'll take it all. I mean, when we release stuff, whether it's emotions, like during healing sessions, like Gaia is the one now. She's the only one that can take it. And she takes it all gladly, and she composts it, and she transmutes it, and she makes it new, just like she does with any of us, where we ultimately go to her to lay to rest. And so, yes, this is immense work. Yes, we have chosen this. Yes, we have said yes to this. Those that are called and those that are still listening, like, you have been chosen to come into your sacred gifts and power, and to do this healing for yourself and for your family and for your lineage. And when you heal, not only does it heal downwards, but upwards, generations back and forward. But it's like, can we let it be simple? Can we remember how to rest? Can we remember how to like unplug and not feed ourselves things that make us sick, whether it's news all the time or constant social media, or the things that we're doing to numb? And like, can we just, even if it's 5 minutes, a beautiful client of mine, you may know her, has realized being awake for the first light of the day is like the medicine, is the healing, is like this most transformational experience for her. Just getting up a little bit earlier than the rest of her. She has little babies, the rest of her family. She works a full-time job. And just getting up and being outside with her coffee and letting that first light hit her face and her heart and her being. It's like, it's healing so much for her and her life and her family and all of it. And it's just like that simple ritual is transforming so much.
Yeah. So for the listeners that just heard Bri talking about that, what I want to say to everyone is, if you do feel what we're talking about, this immensity of what women are trying to hold and change right now, if you do feel overwhelmed, the most important thing right now is to learn how to come back to the moment, to learn how to be present to yourself, and to learn how to determine what you need to do just for the next 5 minutes, just for the next 10 minutes, just for the next hour. We've been programmed to take on big stuff and think that that's what matters. And that's how we get confused. And that's how we get overwhelmed. And we can do the big work by just being in the small, beautiful work of each moment. That's really how you grow into doing the bigger work and holding it all and getting stronger and learning how to do the self-care really well. You do it in the minutes. You don't do it in the years in your mind. You do it in, what do I need right this minute? And I think that that's one of the biggest challenges right now for so many of us is, we keep thinking, oh my God, we have to do this and we have to do that. We're being called to do that. We're being called to do this. Okay, great, wonderful, beautiful. Follow your calling. But right now you just have this 5 minutes. and coming back to that again and again and again. Because even as I speak to you, as I listen to you, Bri, and I think people will feel this as they're listening to the podcast, it comes through energetically, is when you're speaking and when we're speaking, you have to be present. And you can feel it when somebody is present, when they're really there. And it starts first for you being present to yourself. When Bri is speaking to me, she's being present for herself first, and then everybody who's on the other end of this receiving experience as they listen to the podcast, which who knows how many people that will be, right? But you're being present first to yourself so that you can speak clearly into your truth, and then to be present for everybody else. And we keep flip-flopping it. It's like we have to do for everybody else. And what we want to do is flip-flop it and come back into first you do for yourself. So be present for yourself, right? Yeah. So Bri, tell people how they can get in touch with you for work. I let them know you're on Instagram. I know you're on Facebook. How else can people follow you, get to know you a little bit more, reach out to you for work, things like that?
Yeah, the Instagram and Facebook are wonderful. Thank you for sharing those. I'm quite active there and sharing a lot of real life stuff as well. A lot of authentic sharing around motherhood and
So beautiful.
sobriety and healing and dark nights of the soul and things like that. So lots of truth there.
Yeah.
My website is a beautiful place. If you're interested in getting to know each other on a deeper level, or perhaps scheduling a session. I have single sessions, intuitive readings, energy healings, distance and in person. I also have a private mentorship for women who are really looking to really go into finding their unique essence and blueprint and remembering who they are and having kind of a sacred, wing woman guide to return them to that wholeness. It's a combination of healing and intuition and all the different things you can find. Reiki trainings, retreats, different events are on www.brimccorkell.com. And free newsletter, lots of fun goodies to play and spend time together.
Yeah. Well, your voice is beautiful, however it's received, whether it's in person, via energy, via email. You have such a beautiful way of connecting with all of us out here. Thank you for doing your own beautiful work so that you could show up here and share in such a, I think, gifted way, how beautiful this work can be. Because I think that what we need so much right now is this inspiration to dig in and do this work that can feel intimidating. The crazy thing about it is that it's the most beautiful thing, because when you do it, it's your path to freedom. It's your path to feeling like, wow, I can do this. There's nothing like it. So I just want to invite our listeners again to check out Bri's website. Thank you, Bri, for taking the extra time with me today to share for our listeners, and to invite women and moms to come home and do the self-care that's required to really show up fully and live a wild and wonderful life.
Also, I could stay here and talk with you and your listeners all day. So
I'll come back
thank you
again
for the
then.
honor.
Yeah,
thank you. It's such a true honor to spend time in this space. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll see you again.
Okay.
Bye for now. Bye, listeners.
Bye.